Hello and welcome to the Macca's Talk Hockey podcast, the podcast where me and my happy brother Charlie right now talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL, and it has been the first weekend of the playoffs, and I think you could tell by the way the smiles on mine and Charlie's faces how this weekend has gone. We'll come to Charlie in a second. Dan, are you all right? How are you feeling?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good.
How did you find the hockey this weekend? Obviously,
Loved
Buffalo
it.
did win their IHL Stanley Cup, didn't they?
Exactly. Lifted the cup. Might be the last ever cup we lift.
Oh, well, yeah,
I hope not though. I hope not.
yeah,
But yeah, really good performance for them. Really good for the town. Like it's been going on Twitter.
yeah,
Basingstoke never dies. It's sort of becoming a trend now. But
yeah.
yeah, I've loved the hockey. I've loved watching it as a mutual. It's you can't beat playoff hockey. Just
Oh,
a really good advertisement for the game, and I really like the refereeing as well. I
yeah.
wanted to
We'll,
mention
we'll
that.
get on to that. Charlie, how are you feeling?
I'm good, baby. I'm good. Big games, big plays. Oh no, I'm buzzing. I can't lie. I always I'm a very reactionary person, and I always get flipping hyped for the playoffs. And every single season I get disappointed, and we did a flipping worldie this weekend. And
Yeah,
the Swindon Wildcats are a wagon right now. So yeah,
yeah. We'll get
I'm not
into it.
gonna not be happy. I'm buzzing right now, and my day at work went so smoothly.
Yeah, I think we've all been waiting in the group chat ready to start this episode really as soon as that final buzzer went last night. We've been wanting to do this episode and we're doing it now. Before we do get into the playoffs, quickly, we've got one bit of news. Struan Tonner has retired, the captain of the Solway Sharks. He got one season in the NHL. Obviously Ross Murray as well. He retired last week. So
The
two
Sirisenis,
veterans of pardon.
the Sirisenis news too.
Oh yeah. Obviously, Struan is a massive Solway legend, and he'll go down in the Solway history book. So we wish him a good retirement. And Charlie, you brought it up just then. Sirisenis, a six. Wow, it says a year ban. It's about a 4 5 month ban into next season till December, isn't it? For homophobic slash racism language. They haven't specifically said which one, but it was in the game between Swindon and Peterborough. And Dops, the referees obviously fed back to Dops and they've given him a ban. Dan, I'll come to you. You can't be doing that on the ice rink, can you? It's all right to chirp. It's all right to have a bit of banter on the ice with some players. But as soon as you cross that homophobia line, that's where it's a big no-no, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the guy's a liability. Really, I think a lot of people have said it. He's got a track record for doing this sort of thing. He's obviously got some hefty bans in the NIHL one. I think it was for kneeing
Yeah.
and spitting. Comes into our league and he carries it on. I think, to be honest, if it was me, I think he should be permanently banned from British ice hockey. I think it's a bad. It makes the league look bad to people looking at it.
Yeah.
I think having players like that, just having one guy, sort of draws the attention to everything, and can sort of make the league look bad. So yeah, it's not good, and I'm glad he's got a ban. But yeah, for me, it would have been a bit longer.
Yeah, I don't think any teams at a serious level are going to really take him on now, are they? Because they've seen what's happened in the past, and now this happened. So, yeah, not great. But he has now missed the playoffs, so that's his own fault. And Peterborough have. Oh yeah, we missed that. Peterborough signed sisters. We did mention it on last podcast episode, but they have sisters for the playoffs, and boy, did he have a really good weekend. Charlie, do you think he's come into the team because of this Sirisenis news, or do you think they were always planning to get him back in for the playoffs?
I think it was a Slava ace card. He pulled out the ace. He loves the playoffs. And I can imagine he had a good convince. We had him on the podcast.
Yeah,
Just
we
at the
did.
start of the year. He's a really nice guy. I had a chat with him in Peterborough as well. He didn't give it away when I was chatting to him in
No,
Peterborough,
he did.
but he's a phenomenal player. And adding a player like him coming into playoffs is lethal. And to be honest, it looked like he helped them go on to win on that Saturday night for sure against the Bees. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Slava's pulled out his ace card and he's done a good job there.
Right, shall we get into it then? Shall we crack into it? It's been an unbelievable weekend for us and hockey in general. I think the hockey this weekend has been superb. Um, we'll go through the results first and then we'll deep dive into the separate games themselves. So on the Friday night, the Leeds Knights beat the Hull Seahawks 8-3 after going 1-0 down in about 2 minutes as well. So a comfortable win for the Knights. And then moving on to the Saturday, as we just mentioned, the Phantoms beat the Bees 5-3 in Slough. That's a huge result for them, and we'll get into that. The Raiders, oh, wow. They were 5-3 up, and they lost 7-5 to the Tigers. The Wildcats, they beat the Lightning 3-2 in overtime on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday, the Wildcats beat the Lightning 3-2. We will get into that very, very shortly. The Seahawks lost to the Knights back-to-back 6-3, so the Knights getting a 4-point weekend, and so do the Phantoms, who beat the Bees 4-1, and so do the Tigers, who beat the Raiders 3-2. So we're going to go into our game first, though. The Swindon Wildcats doubleheader weekend against the Milton Keynes Lightning. And first of all, before we get into it, massive credit to both teams for putting on a show, a fantastic doubleheader. That is what you want playoff hockey to be, isn't it, Dan? That is literally, in a nutshell, especially that Saturday, playoff hockey.
Yeah, if you get a game and say playoff hockey and watch that's what you expect. That's literally everything you expect from a playoff hockey.
Yeah.
And I did say it before, and I said it to you guys as well. But a big part of that is the refs.
Yeah.
The refereeing on that Saturday night and Sunday, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think the refereeing was done to perfection. I think they just let the game flow. They just let the players sort out the stuff. That's what you want in playoff hockey, and the players accepted it. And I said to you as well, I said if the referees show they're going to treat it as playoff hockey, the
Yeah.
players will do the same.
Yeah.
And that's that. Like I say, it's the best. It's the best way it could have been.
Yeah, Charlie, the tone was set literally from the opening face-off. Lewis Christie, an absolute banging hit on Thomas Malazinski, and Charlie didn't actually go, it's a penalty. That is playoff hockey. Josh Shaw then comes straight back. He absolutely floors Archie Salisbury. There was hits flying everywhere. Charlie, it was just, it was so good, wasn't it?
It was unbelievable. The Saturday night game was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. MK, I give a huge credit to them. I think that was one of the best games Swindon played at home all season.
Yeah.
And MK matched us.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal on that Saturday night, Milton Keynes. They went 2 goals down, but they got it back together. And to be honest, for me, I generally think MK put the I can't play on small rinks debate gone because they generally played really well.
Yeah.
But Swindon Wildcats had Gail Abuele and Glennie Billing getting them through on that game on that night. And obviously, Mr. Coach Aaron now.
Yeah.
Gail Abuele, though, unbelievable game from him. He's a playoff player. The Bison man getting us through. And then, obviously, the beast mode Eddie Bebris.
Oh, what a weekend.
He was unbelievable this weekend. We basically did, just to explain to the viewers, every time Herman, Lawrence, and Venus was out, which is the best line in the league on paper, points wise as well. Every time that line was out, we played Bebris and Plews. And them two stepped up this weekend.
Yes.
They handled it so well. Herman got 0 points. Venus got 2 points. And Lawrence got 1 point, I believe, over the 2 games over the weekend, which is huge credit to them 2 D-men and Rennie Marr because they stepped up this weekend and they showed why they're some of the best D in the league on their day, for sure.
Yeah. Dan, Charlie mentioned Eddie Bebris. He was the man of the weekend. I know that the whole Swindon Wildcats team stepped up, but if you had to single one player out, he got both man of the matches. He was up and down the ice. He must have played at least half an hour in both games. Penalty killing. He got the second goal in the game to give us a 2-goal advantage. As Charlie said, I thought he handled Herman and Venus so well. What stands out the most about Bebris, do you think? Because there's so much to like about him.
It's just his strength.
Yeah.
I think that's such a big quality that he's got. and the way he can get back and use his reach with his strength as well. He in MK keeping them wide every single time. He always put
Yeah,
them to the boards, and that's what you have to do against MK, and especially in their own rink as well. It's obviously a bit easier on the smaller ice,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just the way you can outmuscle the players, take the puck, and then go up the ice with it as well. He was an absolute beast this weekend. It's probably the best weekend I think I've seen him play.
Yeah, that the way he just bodies every single player. For me, he's definitely top three strongest players in the league, if not the strong. He just pushes them. He just pushes them. He can't get past him. And as I said, he got that goal.
sniper as well. What a
Mm.
snipe from him.
Yeah, little snipe from the blue line. But Charlie, you mentioned them as well. Gale and Billing. We did not have them last season. Aaron brings in Gale as the import. He says that Gale's going to be a difference maker. He brings in Billing, who he's wanted for the past few seasons. And those two combined for that first goal on the Saturday night. A penalty kill goal, actually. It was short-handed. And that's why we've got Gale, isn't it, Charlie? Because he's a big game player. He steps up, especially in the playoffs. I'm not saying he's had a bad regular season. He's had a really good regular season, but playoff mode, he is different gravy, isn't he?
He's a beast, man. He didn't even throw many hits.
No.
That's what's funny. Everyone knows Gale throws hits, but he didn't need to throw hits this weekend. We had Josh Short doing that. But Gale Labuele was he was solid, man. He drew the first penalty of the game, which was a clear holding,
Yeah.
and then got the short-handed goal from Glennie Billen, very cleverly dropping back the puck and Gale picking his spot. Like I said, it was just a very tactically close game. I thought I'd give a cheeky shout as well to Lewis Christie. He is a big playoff player. He chucked out some big hits. And then another guy I needed to say and give him his credits, Jordan Headley has
100%.
improved dramatically. He is top three goalie in the league, no doubt.
Probably
And he is,
second best, I'd
and
say, comfortably.
to be honest, he's closing that gap with Gospel. He is. His save percentage is saying that, and the way he played in both games, even though he lost both, he wasn't the reason they lost. And
No.
to be fair, no one was. It was just two good teams battling it out.
Yeah.
And Gael Labuele, Jordan Headley was very, very good, man. He is so solid, and his rebounds are minimal. Everything is so minimal, and the goals we scored were almost unsavable. So Jordan Headley, what a keeper he's become.
Yeah, we got to go on to it. Aaron Nell, the coach, he comes back after 2 weeks out with a little injury. He comes straight into the playoff game. You could tell he was a bit tired sometimes, but he worked his arse off. And in that overtime period, Gale puts the perfect pass over to him and he shelves it. Prime Aaron. And I just want to say, it's not all MK fans. It's not all fans around the league. It's only a small majority of them. But Nell gets so much stick, unneeded stick. Just, I don't know why, because he's actually a really, really nice guy. And I think that was just a bit of good karma, isn't it, Dan? Him getting the overtime winner. A lot of Milton Keynes fans are not the greatest fans of him, and it just put the cherry on top, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't write it to be honest. It had to be now. Also, Gale as well getting involved in the scoring too. It's almost like it's scripted sometimes. But yeah, I think playoff hockey just brings out the best of everyone. I think just the adrenaline that people get. Obviously, Nell did take a bit of a knock earlier in that game as well. Came back out, didn't even notice he was injured. But yeah, it's just playoff hockey is just different for everything. Fans, even the Link Center was actually like had a bit of atmosphere
Yeah,
this time.
it's
Like
buzzing.
the Link Center was booming. The first time I've seen that anyway. but but yeah, playoff hockey just brings out the best of everyone. And
Yeah.
the amount of times we said playoff hockey that night, I think probably about 15 times.
Yeah, I thought I'd say as well. Obviously, it doesn't help with the MK game the next night, but MK will be really happy with that point
Yeah.
if the result didn't go the way it did the next night. MK, I've seen a lot of their fans moaning about this weekend. They played really well on the Saturday night. They played a really good game on the Saturday night. They played phenomenally. That's the best I've seen them play in Swindon in this season. So credit to MK for that night. They battled with us the whole way. Obviously, we're going to talk about Swindon. We're Swindon fans, and yeah, Dan's a Gael Labuele fan. And we want to see our team win, and I go mental. But MK was a good point for them, and they could have got two. Overtime's always a flip of the coin, as we know in the cup semi-final. And that result for MK could be crucial because who knows, you could get through on 7 points in this group. So
Yeah.
it is a big result for MK, and I would say that that performance was a good performance for them on the weekend. I'm not sure about them on the Sunday night. That's for their fans to decide. But on the Saturday night, they played a very, very good game of hockey.
You hearing that, MK fans? Charlie actually complimenting you. He's not all negative about the team, but
And I
let's
would
move
have said that if we lost. I would
on.
have said that.
I know, yeah, I know you would have.
And I said that during the game to everyone around me. I said MK have played really well here because when they scored that second goal, we were pinned for 5 minutes. And if we didn't survive that 5 minutes, we probably could have lost that game, but we managed to.
Yeah. I think, right, I'll just say this as well. For the people who don't really know Charlie, he actually does have really good hockey knowledge, but he also likes to wind up as well. So basically, you've got to not take him seriously, but also take him seriously when he talks like that. So, but I did want to bring up one comment. Actually, we'll get into the game the next day on the Sunday. It was a different game, wasn't it, Dan? Swindon obviously got the win, and I thought we played even better than we did on Saturday night. But a massive part of that was Rennie Marr, and we'll start with him. How big was that save at 1-1 with a minute to go in the second period on Herman? He absolutely robbed him, didn't he?
No, mate. Herman was the threat on the Sunday night. He was that guy. He was really up for it as well. Obviously, the game is always going to be different in MK. MK is such a tough place to go. Every team knows that. Every player knows that, and it's always been like that. It's always been a hard rink to go to. But this season, it's been a fortress. But yeah, Rennie was the best player on the ice last night, I'd say. He kept Swindon in it. At times, when they got that possession in the zone and stuff, Rennie stood on his head. You also had the D-men. Every player put their body on the line. You had some huge blocks in there in the third period as well. But that's what you got to do in MK. You just have to come together as a team, just put everything on the line, and that's what you did.
Yeah. However, there was a bit of a problem. Lucy, he did really well, didn't he, Charlie? And you could tell Herman was getting a bit wound up. He ended up getting a penalty. We then scored on that power play, and then he got another penalty for goalie interference on Rennie Marr, which I actually think it was. There's a picture going around online, isn't there, Charlie? Or there's a picture online, and you can see Rennie Marr's helmet getting jolted back. There was contact, and it got given as a 2-minute goalie interference. There it is. Charlie's got it on his phone.
I'll speak so I go big, but
you can't quite see it, but you can see Rennie's helmet jolted back. Whether Herman meant it or not, it's a 2-minute goalie interference. The referees called it. And in the moment, we love Roy Herman. He's such a nice guy. But in the moment, people can lose their heads. And he did the money symbol, didn't he? He started doing the money symbol towards the ref.
Silly from him. Yeah,
it is very silly.
And I think he'd admit that now. I think he'd openly admit in the heat of the moment, I was very frustrated and I shouldn't have done it. I love Rory Herman. He always says hello before the games, but he made a silly mistake, to be honest, and they did need him in them last 8 minutes of the game.
Yeah, they did need him, and we ended up scoring on that power play as well. So it just played into Swindon's favour. And credit to Plusy, though. I thought he shut down Herman really well. He made 2 massive hits. That's Plusy's game, and Plusy loves the playoffs. So, I don't think he'll get a ban. I think it was disrespectful to the refs. I know it's a heat of the moment thing. I don't know if it will get a ban. We'll have to see. But he did get sent off. However, I did want to mention at the end, the MK fans, or not the MK fans, a section. It was a small section of MK fans booed Swindon off the ice. We've actually had a lot of MK fans message us and come up to us after the game saying we don't agree with the MK fans which did boo Swindon off the ice. So this only goes towards those ones who did boo him. I think that's a bit disrespectful. I know you guys have been so good at home, but you got to give credit to us because we are the first team to beat you since September. And you got to clap the team around the ice, whether you win, lose, or draw. So that was a bit annoying. But as I said, we did have a lot of MK fans come up to us and say, well done, and how good of a game it was. Is there anything else to add on that game, lads?
I was just going to add, from our side of you, me, my dad, and my brother, and Dan, we always stay to clap off the home and away team, no matter
Yeah.
whether we win or lose. When we lost in Sheffield and got pumped in playoffs last year, I clapped off Sheffield, I clapped off Swindon. We do it no matter what it goes through. I'm a very heat of the moment type of guy. And there was a funny comment on Twitter, wasn't there? Were you going to bring that up?
What the guy in the pink?
Yeah.
Yeah, someone went, the guy in the pink jersey, he's just so annoying.
And the thing is, right, I'll be
I
honest, like, I'll say
agree.
how it is, but I think it's funny to her. I saw Cam Hamill just laughing at me because I was banging on the glass going mental. Um, I flipping love beating MK, and they love beating us. Like, so the thing is, right, like, fair play, like, you've beaten us 5 times at that rink. You've knocked us out of a semi-final in overtime and broken my heart, man. You've broken my heart. So to beat them in playoffs, and to be honest, that's how it is. We put them in a very difficult spot now.
Yeah,
They've
we
got
have.
to do a big thing, and they got to beat Telford twice, and probably beat Raiders twice, or beat Raiders once. You know what I mean? They got to beat Telford twice next weekend. So it was nice as a Swindon fan. He's been for a lot in that ring. I've lost 5 times there, and I've been to all 5 of them. To win in that ring in playoffs when
Yeah.
Swindon have got a reputation of struggling in playoffs was huge.
And we deserved it. We deserved the win as well. Every
And
single player from us bought into it. We
yeah,
could list every single player off. And they had a brilliant game. Go on,
and my
Charlie.
boy Malazinski, he popped off in the ring. He got 2 big assists. Um, but nah, I didn't think MK were as bad as their fans said again. I thought they were decent. I don't think they were very clinical, and I think they really struggle with playing against Swindon's trap hockey.
Yeah.
We really trapped them, and we didn't let them get set up. When MK are set up, they are lethal. And there were moments where we blocked open goals.
Yeah.
And you have to buy your luck in games like that. You're never going to win pretty in MK. And we found a way, and now we've got a big 4 games left of the playoffs for Swindon as well. We still got to win our games, and I know that as well myself. Raiders aren't going to be happy, and obviously MK have got a huge 4 games for them, but they've just won a cup. We know they're capable.
Yeah, they're more than capable, Dan, aren't they? It's not over. And as Charlie said a while ago, that 1 point on the Saturday, it's one more point than they could have got this weekend. Do you know what I mean? So they could have lost both of them in regulation, but they have got that 1 point. So that can make a huge difference. And their team, it was I just think we edged them on both games. We just edged them, and we deserve to edge them because I think you could tell our players wanted it that tiny little bit more. I think Glenn Billen as well. We didn't give him his props.
Ooh.
He got 2 goals, 2 huge goals, both assisted by Malazinski. He's a big game player, but they're more than capable, MK, of going and winning the next 4 and topping the group, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing I was also going to add about like the celebrating thing. They've won 25 games in a row at home, and they expect the fans not to celebrate when they win there.
Yeah,
It's like that's the credit to the team. Like
yeah,
you are the team to beat at home. Like
yeah.
you are the team.
It's
And
almost,
to,
we're almost complimenting them. The fact we're
yeah,
celebrating so much, it's like we've
that's what I
managed
mean.
to beat MK there.
Yeah, and
Like
I annoy
they're
myself.
saying, oh yeah, Swindon have acted like they won the playoffs. They've just ended a 25 game home winning streak. And of course they're going to celebrate. Like it's the hardest rink to go to, and
Yeah.
they just won. Like when Basingstoke won, I was mental for like 3 days. I loved it, but
And I'm
like
a nutter.
because Basingstoke win a lot.
I'm an idiot. Like, I'll say how it is. When I watch hockey, I'm a muppet. I bang on the glass. I jump up and down. I do stupid things with Dan
You
during the game.
jumped
I
into
love
my
it.
arms, drops
I
you.
jumped into his arms when we won in OT. I
Um,
think I like, God, it's
I
mental.
I did
Also,
want to,
thought Carter Hamill was really good on the Sunday. I
yeah.
thought he was their best player, MK, along
I
with
did
Jordan
I did
Butler.
want to bring up one thing. We got a comment on our last podcast on our
Oh,
YouTube.
yeah.
And it was an MK fan, and he went, "I've just seen your podcast." He's deleted this, by the way. I've just seen your podcast. I put it to you. MK will beat Swindon twice this weekend. Even if they don't, I know they'll finish top of the group. And I hope Raiders or Telford finish second. You two are so biased towards Swindon, it's comical. Well, Oh, I know we're a bit biased because we want our team to do well, but it's the playoffs. Anything can happen in the playoffs. And yeah, that's all I'm going to
I
say.
can be cool bias, but right now, all four teams I predicted to get in playoffs are in a playoff spot.
But
So
there's still plenty of time to
give him a
go.
name shout out.
We
Give him a nice drop his name in there.
no, we're not. We could end up losing all four of our next games and not
We
making
could, we
playoffs.
could,
There's
we
still
could.
plenty of time to go. But we're Swindon fans. We're going to try and have confidence
And we're
for our
gonna
team.
enjoy it. We're gonna have good banter. We're gonna have a good laugh.
Yeah,
And
I put
that's
I
what I
put
do. I had a nice chat of MK fans before the Swindon game. They were lovely people. They were really nice guys. They were some of the big diehard MK fans who go to every game home and away, and they were really nice. We have our banter. I said I don't really want you to win. So we have a good banter. So I
yeah
respect all. And if anyone wants to come up to us, by the way, when we're at games, I'm happy to
yeah.
have a chat about hockey. You'll probably hear a very biased, deluded opinion come back to you, but you just gotta laugh, you know.
No, we put out a tweet on a serious note. We put out a tweet. Hockey banter, we need it in hockey. Hockey, you need hockey banter between teams, but it's when it gets personal and a bit aggressive online and swearing and everything. We're not like that, and we never have been, and we never will be. So yeah, right. On to Tom Watkins, Tricky Tigers, the other team in the group who got a massive 4 point weekend, and the imports popped off. They were 5-3 down with 6 minutes to go. The Raiders, the big players of Raiders stepped up. Leishram, Sylvester, Connolly, they all stepped up. They got a 5-3 lead in their own barn, but Telford did not give up. This is playoff hockey. They made it 5-4 with a minute and a half to go, and they came back to win it 7-5. They equalised with a minute and a half to go, and then Telford went and got the winner. Dan, imagine being a Telford fan, the emotions you're going through. You're 5-3 down, and then suddenly with a minute to go, you're 6-5 up.
Uh, Again, it's playoff hockey, like you said. It brings the best out of everyone. Romford, another rink where teams love to win.
Yeah.
They love to win in Romford because, again, Romford can get a bit of a fortress at times.
Mm.
When they're winning, they're hard to beat.
Yeah.
But fair play to Telford. They obviously pulled out the bag. Tom Watkins always pulls it out the bag when it comes to playoffs. I think we did actually say that in the before the season even started. I think we always said that Tom Watkins always pulls it out the bag.
Yeah.
Um, Again, the imports coming up big. That's what you pay the money for. You pay them the money to come up in them big games.
Yeah.
Pekka and Sutton really proving how much they're actually worth to that team now,
Yeah.
coming into playoff time. But yeah, fair play to Telford.
Yeah, Charlie, Jesse Sutton, 2+4 on the weekend, 2 goals, 4 assists. Jaden Pekka, 7 assists this weekend. He was the playmaker. He got 4 assists on that Saturday night. And Archie Hazeldine as well. I'm going to put this out there, along with Sobchak. Can we both agree, or all three of us agree, that Archie Hazeldine is probably the most important signing in this league, the best signing in this league mid-season, a mid-season signing with Sobchak?
Yeah, I said Archie Hazeldine to you in the car. Um, Telford lost Rose at the start of the season to injury,
Yeah.
which was a big loss for them. I don't know whether he's back, and obviously Weaver's never really played. And bringing in a D man like Archie Hazeldine, who last season was probably Leeds' best D man,
Yeah.
and now he's gone to Telford and he's tearing it up. And he's been a huge difference maker for them. And Archie Hazeldine, what a player. And the two imports, they turned up and
Yeah.
they had a tough first half of the season. They did them imports, and I know there was some questions about whether they can pick up the points. But Telford, they've been cruising the whole season, and they needed to turn up in playoffs, and they put in two big performances. With their imports, with their vets, with their younger guys.
Yeah.
It was a full team performance, and players like Smith got on the score sheet twice.
Yeah, Smith wasn't even in the squad at the start of the season. Danny comes in, gets promoted to the first team. He gets 2 massive goals on the Saturday night. That it just shows what Tom Watkins can do with any of these players, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. He does. He is a very good coach. Really, really good at what he does. Yeah, Smith seems to be a player that sort of sparks a bit of energy. He had a
Yeah,
fight with Morris earlier on in the season. He just seems to be that guy that can sort of throw the body. He can just do a bit of everything. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
like it'll carry over all the energy through playoffs, especially. Then players like that are really important. To obviously, you can change tones of the game just by throwing a hit.
exactly.
And but yeah, he's going to be a really big guy in the playoffs as well, I believe.
Yeah. Wow. It's. I know MK obviously losing the first two. That is not going to be an easy bounce back for them. But we'll go into that in a bit at the end. And on the Sunday, I just wanted to shout out Finley Howes. He got the game-winning goal with 2 minutes to go. The Raiders were leading in that game as well. Oh no, were they? No,
And
no, no.
Jordan,
Sorry, the Telford were leading 2-0 in that game, and then the Raiders come back 2-2. But Finley Howes gets that big power play. As for the Raiders, lads, that is a sucker blow, isn't it?
tough
You'd
week.
expect them to get at least 1 point, and it's just, again, we'll mention it. It's just playoff hockey. It can kill teams. It can be victorious for some teams, can't it, Charlie?
Yeah, it was a tough weekend for Romford. Yeah, they like it didn't sound like they played awful.
No,
They were
no,
winning
they
five
didn't.
three, and they were drawing 2-2 in Telford. I think they'll be really kicking themselves over that Saturday night. You're winning 5-3 with 6 minutes to go, and you end up losing that 7-5. And yeah, it's frustrating. I know how it feels as a Swindon fan.
Yeah,
It is frustrating because you build up so much hype for the playoffs in your head, and for Romford, they qualified for playoffs maybe I don't know 4 weeks before playoffs, so they kind of knew like we're gonna be in this group, we're probably gonna play these guys, and the motion builds up.
yeah.
For them, they got to win four in a row. They're not gonna not believe in themselves. They're gonna believe in themselves, but it's a very big mountain to climb. But they made Coventry last year, and yeah, it's disappointing for them. But I'm sure they'll pick themselves back up.
Yeah. As it stands, the group then, is it Group A or Group B, or it doesn't really matter. I think it's Group B because Leeds won and I guess they'd be
Yeah,
in Group
the
A.
Group
So
B, I believe.
Group B, as it stands, Telford are top. I think just by goal difference, but both Telford and Swindon are on 4 points. MK with that point in third, and then Raiders at the bottom with 0 points. But that could all change going into next weekend's games. Let's move on to the other groups then, and we'll start with the Leeds Knights game. Now, we watched the game on the Friday night, and we weren't disappointed, but it didn't exactly feel like a playoff game compared to the Saturday game which we watched in Swindon. I know it's a bit different watching it on a live stream because you're not there and it seems a bit slower, but there was a lot more penalties called, wasn't there, Dan? And yeah, Hull Seahawks obviously took the lead. Toner somehow sneaking it through, but then it just felt like it was all Leeds and it just was a bit stoppy starty, and I think that worked into Leeds' favour, didn't it?
Yeah, I did mention it. It didn't really feel like a playoff game. First playoff game of the season, and you expect it to be a big one, but it just felt like a league game. Obviously, like you say, obviously it could be different there. Obviously, you're in the
Yeah,
atmosphere of the crowd and everyone's pumped up. But yeah, it's the referee, and it was too like yeah, it was just too slow. And every time a bit of momentum gets going, they get called for a penalty, and then
yeah,
it all goes again. And it's like you just let the pushing go. Like there was a
yeah.
few pushes, and they would get penalties for it, or they're given both penalties. It's like fair enough in a league game, but come playoffs, you just let them sort it out on their own.
Yeah, I know that it was a bit different to the Swindon game in the sense that it was a bit sloppy from both teams. There was a lot. I think the MK Swindon game, the players just got on with it. They got on with it because they knew they could play hard hockey. There's a few little handbags and people grabbing onto each other, but in the Leeds whole game, Charlie, a lot of penalties were called. It just was a bit sloppy, wasn't it? And Leeds made the most of those power plays, didn't they?
I do agree, but I think they did have to get on hold of the game because obviously Hull were a bit upset.
Yeah,
They were a bit upset that they've not had the greatest of luck in the last couple of weeks. They've not been playing at their best, and I think that frustrated them. Yeah, it was just a Leeds domination though.
yeah,
Leeds took over them that game, and they deserved thoroughly what they got. Yeah, it didn't feel hugely like a playoffs game, but that's what Leeds are so good at. They're so good at controlling games, dominating games, and staying on top of the games, and not really letting you have a chance.
yeah.
So credit to the Leeds Knights; they deserve that win thoroughly. And Witkowski's a sick playoff player, and
Oh,
yeah, the D man Bo Neely. Whew,
Yeah, what a play for that. What was it? The second goal. He just comes down the line all the way round, flicks it back. And it was a tap in for who was it who tapped it in? I can't.
Baron, I
Baron.
think. I think it
Baron
was
tapped
Baron.
it in. Hayward was really good as well. I know you mentioned Witkowski. He got 4 assists. He's a massive playoff player, isn't he, Witkowski? Last year in my opinion, he was Leeds' best player at Coventry. And then this year he's already started really strong. On to the Sunday game. Now I've spoken to Emily, who does stuff with Leeds, and I asked her to pick out a few players. And she said it did feel much more like a playoff game, a lot more feisty. Obviously, you got the small barn in Hull, and one player she said that stood out in that playoff game was Mr. Ollie Endicott, who ended up having a little fight with Chamberlain as well. He is the perfect player for playoffs, isn't he, Dan? He's always had that game on the edge. He loves throwing his checks. And Emily said that he was just flying around that ice and playing that playoff style. And yeah, Leeds really could do with it. Leeds have done with a player like him. It's good to have him on their team because he brings that little bite to it, doesn't he?
Yeah, these gritty players, it's their favourite time of the year. They
Yeah.
can sort of throw the body without everyone going mental at them. They can throw the body around, throw a few nice hits, gets the crowd involved. The crowds are pumped for it for the big hits. That's what they come for.
Yeah.
And yeah, they love it. Obviously, it spurs them on as well, seeing all the fans getting pumped up for it. But yeah, it's just a perfect time for these sort of players, and they
Yeah.
thrive in this sort of atmosphere as well.
There was a funny picture online. I know Bobby Chamberlain plays that type of hockey, but you could see the Leeds bench just laughing at him after the fight when he was calling them out because Leeds are winning, and that's all that matters for them. Charlie, another player that Emily picked out, and Kieran Brown actually mentioned to me as well, is Sam Gospel. It sounds like Hull really gave Leeds a really good game, maybe 6-3. It was an empty net, wasn't it? It was actually 5-3, and then Leeds got the empty net goal. But Sam Gospel at moments in that game stood on his head. And Aaron Nell said in his interview after, in those big games, you need your goalies to step up and be the best, one of the best players, if not the best player on the ice. And Gospel is that guy to step up, isn't he? Especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, Gospel's good. He's very good.
Good.
Yeah, he's just a class goalie. He's just Mr. Cool, Mr. Consistent, and he'll win you games every day of the week. Some of the sellies in that Leeds game, by the way,
I
was
was just about to mention that.
Jordan Boysa. He is fun to watch. He went where the away fans are and how he grabbed the plex and just went like that. I was like, yeah, this is playoffs, baby.
But on Leeds though, they have struggled against Hull this season. They obviously lost to them twice in the semi-final, but that is a statement, isn't it? Beating them maybe not comfortably on the Sunday, but on the Friday definitely. But beating them twice, getting 4 points, proving why they are the league champions. Can they go 6 for 6, Dan?
I think they can.
Yeah,
Why not? It's Leeds. They can do anything they want, really.
Charlie.
I think Peterborough are going to win one of the games.
Whoa, we'll get to that in a minute. We'll keep that to yourself. We'll get to that at the end. As for Hull, obviously losing both games. Ideally, they probably would have wanted to win at least one of them, or even do what Milton Keynes do, get at least 1 point. They've lost two now, Charlie, but they've got the hardest team you'd say on paper, which is Leeds, out the way. They've got Peterborough and Bees next. What do you think? They should. What do they do from here? Do they just restart? We go again. We know we got the quality.
They got to win 4 in a row.
Yeah,
They got to get back to playing how they did. They got a good team to play against, so I'm not underestimating the Bees by any stretch of the imagination. But it's the team you want to come up against on the next weekend.
yeah,
Hull need to start scoring. And defending a bit better. You can't let in 14 goals in 2 games.
yeah.
You're not going to win when you do that.
No.
I know it's Leeds, but you can't do that. So they've got to tighten up at the back, focus on the basics, and beat Bees twice.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be an easy task. Bees didn't go down without a fight this weekend. And they got to put that. I almost feel, I may be wrong. I'm not a hockey player, so I'm not an expert. Feels like they're still not fully over that cup final.
Yeah.
It still feels like they're in a little rut from that cup final, and they haven't quite got going. And the player I haven't seen on the score sheet at the moment is Feck. He's normally on it when it comes to big games, and I think they need to get him back on the score sheet, get him back firing, and this team is the type of team where they could, like I saw on the MK group chat, I thought was a great comment. Win the next 6 games and you win playoffs.
Yeah.
Um, 6 game win streak wins you Coventry.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're going to do that, but that's what's going to be on their mind. 6 games in a row, we can do that. We know we can do that. Let's get rolling. So
Yeah.
for them, it's just about getting that team mojo back going, and we know Hull can do that. So it's pressure on them. It's a lot of pressure.
Dan, do you think they're tired? I looked at their roster and it's only their second season. People need to remember this. It's only their second season. They've had some really big games the past few weeks. Obviously, that final would have taken a lot out of them. But you look at the likes of Leeds, Swindon, MK. They've got big rosters. I'm looking at Hulls. They haven't got the biggest, have they? Do you think that's taken a bit of a toll on them because of how mentally and physically draining playoffs can be?
Not. I think the biggest issue that they've got is their defensive depth.
Yeah.
I think obviously they've got their main guys of Brock and Deck.
Yeah.
And then you go through their line, they've got Chilcott, Barry, and then they got
Stubley, Wilcox.
Yeah. Yeah. And Wilcox, I'm pretty sure Wilcox is actually a forward. If I'm wrong, I might be wrong.
I think he's played forward before, yeah.
Yeah. I think because obviously you got like Friday is a good example. Obviously, Deck is an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
And he has been all season. But Friday, he didn't have the best game.
Yeah.
I'll say that he didn't have the best game. I think he'll probably agree with that as well.
Yeah.
But because they have to keep rotating him, and that he keeps going straight back out after he's just had a bad shift.
Yeah.
Obviously, in playoffs, you don't get a break. Like momentum and stuff, the shifts are mental.
Yeah.
But I think, it's just their defensive depth. I think that's been their problem all season.
Yeah.
I think at one point they did only have 4 D men, I'm pretty sure, and they were just rolling 2 lines of D. And you had Deck and Brock were literally playing about 40 minutes a night, and they were getting knackered. And I think, in playoffs, obviously, it does take more out of you, and I think that is one of their big issues.
Yeah, as Charlie said, the next 6, well, they've got to focus on the next 4, especially next weekend. They've got to get minimum 2 wins. A team which did do that is the Phantoms. We'll move on to them. Obviously, Sir Senis getting that ban, Sisters coming in, and Sisters gets 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists. They were actually 2-1 down, weren't they, Charlie? And I've spoke to a couple Bees fans, and Bees actually dominated them for the first period and a bit of the second period. But then, as we know, Slava flicked a switch and the big boys turned up and they got some huge goals. And specifically, Bjorkley Nordstrom, who had a fantastic weekend. He's up there for player of the weekend. Slava, man, he just gets it done, doesn't he, Charlie?
Don't bat the Phantoms. Don't doubt the Phantoms.
Don't bat him. Don't doubt him, yeah.
I said it going into playoffs. You can't doubt the Peterborough Phantoms. There was a reason why they wanted to be in that group. I do believe that. I do believe there's a reason why they wanted to be in that group, and they got in it. And I didn't even think Luke Ferrara popped off this weekend.
No.
He had quite a quiet weekend. And Blockley Nordstrom, he's only been around a point a game. He's done well, but he put in a big shift for playoffs, and it sounded like Jordan Marr put in a big shift. And I can imagine it was a good war against the Bees. And Peterborough got that playoff experience as well. And it is a big thing. They know what to do and they know what it takes to get to Coventry.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Bees don't quite have that experience in that roster.
Yeah.
And Phantoms managed to do their way. Slava managed to find the right tactics. And Peterborough got a huge 4-point weekend. And Nordstrom was a huge part of that. I'm excited to see the highlights come out and see how he contributed.
Yeah. Dan, 4 goals this weekend for Nordstrom. He was their main goal scorer. But going back to Sisters, he's not played for 4 or 5 months. I'm sure he's probably been skating around. You don't stop playing hockey. But to come back in that physical weekend, as we just said, with Hull being able to having to play that physical game as well, coming back, he did not disappoint again. It just shows what a player he is.
Yeah, it's probably up there, one of the toughest games to come back to after an injury.
Yeah.
especially for being out for that long as well. Go straight back into the first game of the playoffs. I was talking to Charlie before it, before the game, about what line it'd be on. Charlie said it'd be on the top line, which he obviously was. Um, Obviously, I don't know if he's been skating, like training and stuff like that, but I did think putting him on the first line could be a bit of a risk going into playoffs.
Yeah.
Obviously, hard checks. You're going up against the top lines when you're a top line player.
Yeah.
You're going to be getting in it. You're going to be getting in the nitty gritty parts of the ice, and it. I think was it a concussion that he had, or
Something. I think he's had a
Yeah.
concussion before. Yeah.
yeah, and obviously it can just take one knock and you can be straight back to square one again.
Yeah.
But obviously they put him on first line and he definitely proved
Yeah.
everyone wrong.
That Slankovsky, Luke Ferrara, and Martin Sisters line, as Charlie said, it is one of the best in the league, and they proved that this weekend. But Bjorkley Nordstrom was that depth guy on that second line, and he also got him. Mitchell King got a couple assists as well. I thought I'd shout him out. On the Sunday, again, it was a really, really tight game, and I've actually seen a clip of Peterborough's first goal. It was 0-0 for the first half of the game, the first 30 minutes, and then Peterborough scored. And I'm not going to lie, me and Charlie have both seen it. It was offside twice, not once, but twice. And I felt for the Bees a bit because that first goal, when the game's so tight, we've seen it in the Swindon games, is such a key goal. And I'm sure that did take a bit out of them. I'm not saying Peterborough would have gone on to lose that game if they didn't get, if that was called up for offside, but it is a bit of a kick in the balls, isn't it, Charlie?
Yeah. You do want the refereeing to be the best possible standard for playoffs, and mistakes are very disappointing for players who, to be honest, that game Peterborough and Bees, you almost play the whole season preparing to try make Coventry.
Yeah.
Because none of them made that cup final and none of them were really near the league. So it was just it's very disappointing for players when there isn't decisions which are correct. But yeah, you've got to fight your own luck as well. You got to
Yeah.
create your own luck, and yeah, it was another big win for Peterborough, and another one where Bees will be thinking, oh, what if?
Yeah. It's one of them. I think the luck will even itself out. Bees will probably get a decision go their way in the future, and maybe they'll get a goal which is offside. But as you said, the Phantoms just got it done. They got another empty net goal in the second
Tough to
game as
beat
well. So
Peterborough.
what's that?
It's
Sorry?
not an easy rink to go to,
No,
Peterborough.
it's not. Um, but yeah, that was the playoff games. Is there anything else you wanted to add on the games before we get into the fixtures for this weekend? Is there anything else you wanted to shout out? I just wanted to shout out our penalty killing. Milton Keynes, as we know, are the second best power play in the league. They're absolutely deadly. Swindon gave away 8 penalties. Well, we got 8 penalties. And we killed every single power play. How good was the penalty killing down from Swindon? Just the formation we played. I'm not a tactician for ice hockey, but we could see the way that Swindon were setting up, and they did the same on the power plays. And to stop the likes of Venus, Lawrence, Herman, that was massive, wasn't it? To kill those power plays.
Yeah, the thing when you're going up against them guys, you have to be tactical. Like
Yeah,
you have to set up in a specific way to play them sort of guys.
yeah,
Obviously, they've been around the game for so long, and the experience in that power play that they've got is unbelievable. Especially if you add Wallace to that as well.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, you do have to be really clever about it. And like we said over the whole weekend, it was all tactic.
yeah,
Every single play was a tactic, and when top teams play each other, that's how it's going to be, and that's how it's got to be.
yeah.
But obviously, at the end of the day, your guys did put their body on the line at every single bit they could, and
Yeah.
that's what you expect in playoffs, and that's what you got.
Yeah, Charlie, Dan mentioned Wallace. I forgot to mention, obviously, he wasn't playing this weekend. You, I think they did miss Wallace, didn't they? Obviously, you're going to miss him because he's your import. He's one of your best players. But on that power play, just like when we didn't have Nell, and he orchestrates our power play, they did miss Wallace on that power play, didn't they?
Yeah, they did miss Wallace. They did, but at the end of the day, you can't be doing bad hits, otherwise you're not going to play.
Yeah,
Um, I think that's the way it is. So yeah, they did miss him. Of course, you're gonna miss a player of his quality. They probably miss Ripley as well. And they miss Ben Solder. They had a couple players out who they did miss. And yeah, Wallace is a class player, and I think he's very good for their power play. I think he makes a big difference on their power play.
Yeah.
But I had to give Ben Callahan's statistic a shout out. We did not go down for 122 minutes versus MK Lightning. We
Yeah.
were not losing against MK Lightning once this weekend, which is a huge statistic for the Wildcats. And it's a big thing. If you go down to MK and MK, that's why they're on a 25 game win streak. Me and Dan said it. You can't start losing against MK. You have to be winning,
Yeah.
or at least drawing. So it was a big game, and I think Tim Wallace is a big miss, and him coming back for the final weekend. If they've got to win 2 out of 2 games, I'm sure he'll be pumped up. And to be honest, he seems like a playoff player as well. The man's fought Milan Lucic. He knows what playoffs is about.
Yeah.
And he's also fought Ollie Endicott. So
Yeah,
he
that
knows
was a
what
funny comment
playoffs is
made. He's
about.
gone from fighting Milan Lucic in the NHL to Ollie Endicott in the NIHL. That is some story to tell, isn't it? Yeah, I just want I could shout out every single one of the Wildcats players, but I did want to shout out one more player, and that is Jamie Smith. 18 years old, stepping up, Charlie. He was for his first playoffs he got put in a role as well where he had much more ice time. He's so good for his age, man.
Yeah, Jamie Smith's sick. If you don't know, get to know. He's him, man. He had a sick weekend. He sadly he's not here for the next two
Yeah, I'm gutted.
because of under 18 GB. But if you don't know, get to know Jamie Smith and shout out to Phil Smith. You know how it goes. Yeah.
So I know we're doing loads of shouts. Malik as well. I thought he was really good
Oh,
this
he was
weekend.
class. He had his
Yeah,
best game I've ever seen him play on Saturday. He
yeah,
was
he was
really good on
phenomenal on
Saturday, and he
Saturday.
got a goal. He was really good. Yeah, Malik and I think he played with Christie.
Yeah,
I don't
or
even know. They got a
yeah,
lot
it
of players.
was either
Yeah.
Christie or Griffin, one of the two.
They got a lot of players, but he played with a D man.
Yeah.
It's
So
always
we'll,
good.
as I did with Charlie. No, he played with a forward. But no, in the
There was
group
three
A,
forward when he was playing, apart from the PK
yeah, in
and
group
overtime.
A,
Okay.
Leeds are at the top. Peterborough are in second, and then joint third and fourth is the Bees and the whole Seahawks. So will be interesting. Lads, let's look ahead to this weekend then. We've got more double headers. We'll start with Swindon's group and they face the Raiders. This isn't going to be easy. I know we've just beaten MK twice, but you cannot just drop your level, can you? And it's going to be a completely different game, Dan. The Raiders are going to be hungry. This is do or die for them, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You can't underestimate anyone.
Yeah.
Like you say, Raiders have just gone on from a tough weekend. They're gonna be wanting answers from that. They're
Yeah.
gonna be wanting They're gonna be wanting a positive weekend
Yeah.
because you can't be going to another rink and losing again.
Yeah.
In playoffs especially because, like you say, that could be the end. And they will have that in the back of their head. Like
Yeah.
they're going out on the ice and saying this could be the last time we jump on this ice this season.
Yeah.
Like we have to play,
Yeah.
and they know Swindon are going to turn up at home because Swindon is a really hard rink to go to. But it's going to be a good battle, and I wish I was there to see it.
Yeah, Dan, do you want to let everyone know where you're going?
Oh well, I'm going to be watching a proper ice hockey team. I'm going to be watching the
No
Toronto
disrespect,
Maple Leafs.
please.
Going to be watching some proper hockey.
Go on,
But
tell us.
yeah, I can't wait to be back out there. Yeah, going out there for 6 days. Obviously going to be missing some National League hockey, but I'll be watching some NHL. So surely I'll make up for it, and then I'll be back in
Yeah,
the weekend after to see the last weekend and see how everything goes down. I will be obviously keeping in contact with both of you,
yeah,
and we'll be expecting a lot of talks about the games.
yeah.
And but yeah, I can't wait.
So we might not have Dan on next weekend, because he will be in Toronto watching the NHL. But we'll get Dan back on for the final weekend. Charlie, Swindon Raiders. this is a massive one for Swindon as well, because if they win both games, we can wrap up, I think, a spot in the Coventry playoffs if results go elsewhere.
Um, yeah, win the home game and then go after Raiders away, but it's not going to be easy. Raiders are going to come out hard. They beat us in the final home game of the year, and got to play like we did against MK. Got to put the body on the line. We got to play tough. Big players have got to make big plays, and Rennie Mars got to keep the form he's on.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough, but I believe in these boys. These boys are special.
Yeah, I think we need to win that home game. As for Swindon, we need to win that home game. And then if we do win in Romford, that is a massive bonus. Just like this weekend, me, Charlie, and Dan said we just needed to win that game against MK on the Saturday at home, and then you can go into the second one with confidence, and we did, and we ended up winning. But if we could do that again this weekend, where we beat Raiders at home, you can go into that second game with a bit of confidence. But if you do lose that game, you've then got a chance to beat Telford and make Coventry at home again. So as for Swindon now, it's just about winning those home games. On the flip side of it, you've got the doubleheader between Telford and the Milton Keynes Lightning. That is going to be an absolute brawl, isn't it? I think MK are going to have to just play the way MK do, because I'd say MK do have more talent in terms of depth talent, but it's playoff hockey. I don't know how many times we've said that, Dan, but the Tigers have shown they can just do anything in playoffs, can't they?
They can. And Telford is another place where MK have struggled.
Yeah.
They had that game a few weeks ago where they let in 2 goals in the last 3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Telford can perform in their own rink. And like we said, Tom Watkins always finds a way, and they can never be underestimated.
Yeah, MK will want revenge from last year's playoffs. Do you think a few players on that roster, Charlie, who played in that series last year, they'll be wanting it even more this year to get the revenge?
Yeah, I think they're going to be nervous. MK. They've got the home game first, which I think is
That's
excellent.
huge. Yeah.
I think it would have been tough if they had to go straight to Telford, so they can get that home streak started again. They can get the one on the bounce and they can get going again. Then it almost flips it a little bit back onto Telford, because it means if MK win on the first night and then they beat Telford on the second night, they actually overtake MK.
They're above them.
Because at that one point they got in Swindon. So I think that home game against MK, I think Telford will be saying similar to what Swindon said. See what we can do, play your hearts out, but if we lose, we lose. Yeah. And then on the Sunday night, it's for Telford. They're going to be saying, we know we can beat MK at home. Let's do it. But MK or MK, they got a stacked squad. Got to wait and see what happens with Herman. That is a big, big thing to get announced. I don't think he'll be banned, but he could be. I don't know what the rules are with things like obviously doing a money gesture to the refs. If he's out of that tie, that's huge. That's another big element we're not quite sure on yet. And who knows with Dops? They love a good surprise, don't they? They love a nice birthday present on Saturday morning. So who knows? Any team and any player in Dops could be after him. Who knows?
One thing I will say, Dan, I think if Headley plays the way he did this weekend, I do think Milton Keynes can get that 4 points, because I know Swindon beat him twice, but Mar was on par with him. But saying that, you got Brad Day. He's a playoff player as well. He can stand on his head. When he's on it, he can be the best goalkeeper in the league. So it's a tricky one, but again, it's going to come down to goalkeepers. They got to be on their game, haven't they?
100%. It's going to be such a big weekend for both teams. Yeah, I will definitely be keeping an eye on that one. But yeah, it's just the mentality. They've got to have the mindset, and going into Telford as well, like I said, if they're going to have that in the back of their head, they just need to block it all out, play playoff hockey. It's a totally different game. Yeah. They just got to go and do it.
If MK do lose on the home game on that Saturday, they could be out. They could be out of playoffs if results for the next 3 games after that don't go their way. They could win the second game, but if results don't go their way, they could be out. So it's a must win for them, and I think they will get the job done on that Saturday. Pardon me. as for the other group, I think we're going to be saying the same kind of things, aren't we, for the Bees and the whole Seahawks? That is a huge game for Hull and Bees, isn't it? You'd think whoever wins that, whoever loses that game between Hull and Bees, you'd think they're probably out, wouldn't you?
Yeah. It's I can't remember. I think they've got Hull at home on the Saturday.
Yeah, Bees have got Hull at home first. Yeah,
There's more pressure on Hull. There is. Bees were not expected to go through, and if they go out, it's an achievement than making playoffs this year. It's
yeah,
a big thing for them, and you have to look at it like that. I'm not belittling Bees. I think Bees are a great team at home, and I would not be surprised if Bees beat Hull at home.
Oh, I
I
wouldn't be
actually
surprised.
think Bees will, but
Oh,
it is a great season for Bees, and no matter the result for Bees, people will say fair play Bees for getting in the playoffs. For Hull, it's do or die.
yeah,
They have to win that game. They have to win both games and put the pressure on Peterborough for when they're ready to play them.
yeah,
Because if results don't go their way this weekend, wow, there's no way unless Bees and Hull. If Bees and Hull split it, and Leeds and Phantom split it, it becomes very difficult for
yeah.
Hull and Bees to even have a chance.
Yeah. Dan, we watched the wow, that's the game. No, sorry, we watched Hull versus Bees a few weeks ago, didn't we? I don't were you at that game, Charlie? I don't think you were. No, you weren't at
No
that
thing.
game. We watched it in Slough, and the Bees got the better of the whole Seahawks, didn't they? Hull nearly made that comeback at the end, but on a whole, the Bees did dominate them in their own arena. Hull are going to have to play a bit differently. I know it's the playoffs; it's going to be different anyway, but they need to find a way to be able to play in that small rink because it's much smaller than the one they've got at home. And because that's the first game of the weekend, it's, as Charlie said, it's vital for them to win that game.
Yeah, it's going to be another battle because both teams need that win.
Yeah,
And to get that big win, the first win of the weekend is going to be so huge to go into the next game. Um, Hull are going to be annoyed. Obviously, I know they just played Leeds, and Leeds are a hard team to play against at the best of times. But they are going to be annoyed. They're going to want a result. Bees are going to be the same because they're going to be wanting to push for it. They love being underdogs. Um, but yeah, it's just going to be all battles.
yeah,
Every weekend is a battle, and
yeah,
you really don't know who's going to come out on top,
yeah. Charlie,
and
I
that's the
come to
beauty of
you.
playoff hockey.
Yeah, playoff hockey. We'll mention it again. You said you think the Phantoms and the Knights are going to split it either way. Um, I don't have any reasoning why that they can't do that. But what is your reasoning why you think that will happen? And do you think it will just be a home win, home win?
I do think it'd be a home win, home win. I'm probably being again a bit controversial. It's in my personality. I don't know. I just don't see Leeds going for 6-0. They don't need to. I don't know who's playing home first. I'm gonna quickly check.
Leeds are at home first, I believe.
Again, that plays into my advantage because Leeds are gonna get slightly comfortable in my eyes. Potentially. They know how good they are. And they know what they're about. And so for me, I see them just sneaking a game. I can see the game in Peterborough going to overtime though.
Oh,
I can see it being a very like tight, close game. I'm trying to find out who's at home first. I can't find it. Everyone's website is so complicated. Um, but either way, I think they'll split it, and I think the other teams will split it as well. I
yeah.
think Bees and Hull are going to split it, and Leeds and Phantoms are going to split it. But
Okay.
we'll see.
I think there's going to be wow. It's interesting this weekend. Every single playoff, like double header, wasn't split. I know MK got that 1 point, but every single playoff game, a specific team won both times. So I think there's going to be a lot more splitting this weekend. Yeah, lads, it's safe to say we enjoyed the first weekend of playoffs. We hope everyone else has as well. Let's go Wildcats. What a double-header victory. Honestly, so proud of the boys to get that done. As we said, we would have snapped your arm off for just 2 points off the weekend. But to get all four is brilliant. But there's still 4 games to go. 2 more weekends. As I said, it will just be me and Charlie next weekend. Have you got anything else to add to that, lads?
Dan, what's the saying about Basingstoke?
Basingstoke never dies. Never.
And then I'll go finish it off. Thomas Malazinski's the GOAT, baby. Come on.
Hey, follow
Yeah.
our socials at Macca's Talk Hockey. We appreciate everyone tuning in. We appreciate all the support as well, everyone who's coming up and giving us some nice feedback. Yeah, we'll see you next week after week 2 of the playoffs. I don't know if it's going to top this weekend. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.